Page 1. Creative Evolution, Henri Bergson, 1907. 0.1. Half-title and dedication. First published in French in 1907, Henri Bergson's L'8 copyright Evolution Créatrice is a scintillating and radical work by one of the great French philosophers of the 19th and 20th centuries. This outstanding new translation, the first for over 100 years, brings one of Bergson's most important and ambitious works to a new generation of readers. A sympathetic though critical reader of Darwin, Bergson argues in Creative Evolution against a mechanistic, reductionist view of evolution. For Bergson, all life emerges from a creative, shared impulse, which he famously terms copyright élan vital and which passes like a current through different organisms and generations over time. Whilst this impulse remains as forms of life diverge and multiply, human life is characterized by a distinctive form of consciousness or intellect that is modeled upon how objects or parts of objects are juxtaposed in space. Yet as Bergson brilliantly shows, the intellect's fragmentary and action-oriented nature, which he likens to the cinematograph, means it alone cannot grasp nature's creativity and invention over time. A major task of creative evolution is to reconcile these two elements. For Bergson, the answer famously lies in intuition, which brings instinct and intellect together and takes us into the very interior of life. A work of great rigor and imaginative richness that contributed to Bergson winning the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1927, Creative Evolution played an important and controversial role in the trajectory of 20th century philosophy and continues to create significant discussion and debate. The philosopher and psychologist William James, who admired Bergson's work, was writing an introduction to the first English translation of the book before his death in 1910. This new translation includes a foreword by Elizabeth Gross and a helpful translator's introduction by Donald Lands. Also translated for the first time are additional notes, articles, reviews, and letters on the reception of creative evolution in biology, mathematics, and theology. This edition includes fascinating commentaries by philosophers Maurice Merleau-Ponty, Georges Canguilhem, and Gilles Deleuze. Henri Bergson, 1859–1941, was born in Paris, the year Darwin's On the Origin of Species was published. Initially drawn equally by the sciences and philosophy, at the age of 18 Bergson won a prestigious prize for solving a mathematical problem. Choosing philosophy, he attended the École Normale Sup copyright rear in the University of Paris before working as a school teacher in Angers and Clermont-Ferrand while completing his doctorate at the University of Paris in 1889. He worked for 8 years at the like copyright Henri IV before taking a position as chair of Greek and Roman philosophy at the École d'Archistes de France in Paris 1900. His weekly lectures soon attracted beyond-capacity crowds, and his visits abroad to England and the United States filled venues and reportedly caused the first-ever traffic jam on Broadway in New York City. Bergson engaged with some of the leading contemporary thinkers, including a famous debate with Einstein in 1922 over the nature of time. He influenced Marcel Proust, Thomas Mann, and the philosopher William James, and was a pioneering figure in the modernist intellectual movement of the early 20th century. Praise for this new edition. This new translation by Donald Lands captures the mesmerizing work that turned Henri Bergson into one of the century's most provocative thinkers with expert annotations, correspondence and additional material by influential thinkers from William James to Gilles Deleuze. Jiminick Annals, University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, USA. Henri Bergson, who personally oversaw the translation of all his books into English, would be delighted by this new edition of his greatest work. Donald Lands's translation is exquisite and the extensive editorial notes are indispensable for the serious study of creative evolution. Alexander Lefebvre, University of Sydney, Australia. This splendid new translation provides an exceptional, scholarly tool for serious specialists as well as all readers interested in Bergson's work. It will swiftly become the definitive reference text for all Anglophone Bergson scholarship. Christina Howells, University of Oxford, UK. A major event in post-Kantian philosophy. Featuring a lucid introduction, helpful translator's notes and a judicious selection from Arnaud Fran section's illuminating critical dossier, this fine translation of creative evolution means that English-language Bergson scholarship has begun to gain the serious editions of his texts that it deserves. Mark Sinclair, Roehampton University, UK. This superb translation will introduce a new generation to Bergson. Lanz's cogent introduction and editorial notes and the accompanying dossier of correspondence, reception and commentaries not only situate creative evolution in relation to Bergson's oeuvre, but also to the myriad scientific and philosophical sources informing his thought. An outstanding achievement. Mark Antliff, Duke University, USA. This wonderful new translation of Bergson's classic creative evolution is warmly welcomed, as are the rich introduction, comprehensive editorial notes and thoughtful selection of commentaries. There are many improvements to the original translation published over a century ago. Emily Thomas, Durham University, UK. Creative evolution is essential reading today. To translate it well requires a serious engagement with Bergson's entire body of work, sustained philosophical attention, a feel for context, including discoveries in thermodynamics, and, most importantly, enormous care. Happily, this is what Donald Lanz offers us here. Suzanne Gerlach, University of California, Berkeley, USA. Page 6.